You're only 9 miles in. All real Z's love scars. Take advantage of the buffet. You realize that you have exhausted your supply of energy gels and prepared sports drinks that you brought with you. Look forward to taking full advantage of the aid station at mile 11. Or is it 12? No matter. Remember, the actual distance of the mile markers is totally erratic and is at the race director's discretion. The mile markers are normally adjusted equally to make the course appear accurate, but on these trails, who really knows? Just enjoy the time spent running. The aid stations will be on the left. You will have been anticipating arrival minutes in advance from the banshee screams of encouragement emanating from the dark wilderness in front of you. Take the time to secure a defizz coat. Procure, through all necessary means, a full can of soda. Open it if necessary, and continue running. This will taste like sweet honey manna from heaven. Your brain will thank you as your ability to produce lucid thoughts returns. Grab as much food as you can, and stuff it away wherever possible. I carry my food encased within special elastic pouches on my hat so that I'm not constantly harangued with what feels like quarries on my backside for service from a horny lover. I find the tap, tap, tap of food hitting me incessantly annoying, and created a head carrier to reduce this annoyance. With a little sweet talking, maybe your companion Z will design one for you. The event of a marathon is a series of buffet tables spread miles apart. Whether you are just a cheapskate or on a budget, remind yourself as you approach each table that you paid well over $10 per plate for those gummy worms and stale peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Eat up. Beware the goat Z. By mile 16, your good fortune, planning, and nutritional guidelines have helped you catch up to a new obstacle during your race. Meet the goat Z. You realize that you are having a good day when you have managed to catch a wiry, slightly balding man with a gnarly beard and goat legs. You have slowly been reeling him in step by step over the last 2 miles, and he is now only a few yards away. Every sport has a small pool of genetically suited participants. These athletes within any field often share common traits. Marathon runners should in particular beware of the following traits for men. These traits include goat legs, hairy chest and or back, long beard, and perhaps an onset of male pattern baldness. This man probably spends all his time running up and down mountains in all kinds of weather, and then probably kicks back with a beer to refuel afterwards. For women, beware of fast-paced steps, forced rhythmic breathing, smooth whipping strides, and an unwillingness or inability to chit-chat. As a side note, you won't have to worry about anyone wearing makeup or escort for the race. As you pass by the Z, you notice that he is covered in hair, indicating a high level of testosterone, and that his muscles look as gnarled as an old tree trunk uprooted by powerful wind gusts. The veins can be seen pulsing slightly beneath the Z's glistening skin, like the wriggling of mating snakes in an Amazonian mud pit. The Z will toy with you. Don't try your tricks with him unless you are prepared for an additional mental battle. This Z can destroy your race. Some possible tactics for success include: hang out 5 paces behind him for a mile or two before deciding to pass. Pay attention to the Z's foot strike and to his bounce. If he looks fluid and has minimal body movement other than forward motion, beware, as he may be fully rested and taking his race easy. He can easily strike with this stance. If his breathing is labored and he isn't holding a constant pace, test his legs by giving a quick wave or a hup hup as you pass. Run by, holding your pace, but not pushing the speed just yet. Once you have opened up a 10 or 15-foot gap, kick your heart rate and effort up 15% for a quarter mile or so to open up a larger gap. This is especially useful if there is a curve approaching. Remind yourself of the mantra, out of sight, out of mind. You do not want to dangle in front of the Z for too long, or he could come back for a second round when his luck and temperament improve. He has played this game before, many times over, and will recover. If he starts pushing the pace as you approach, then let him open up a distance of perhaps 50 yards and slowly ramp up your speed to match. If the speed is too much, then back off. However, if you can handle it, maintain the speed for the mile or so that it takes him to reduce his speed. Once you notice that he is slowed, strike and strike hard. His wad of cash has been spent, and you have thus been granted a 5 to 10 minute escape period. Take advantage of this. Lower your heart rate and find a rhythm. Take a deep breath, control your heart rate, and relax. You think easier said than done. You are at mile 19, and you have just defeated a goat Z. Find a comfortable stride. You are about to hit a wall as your legs scream out. Oh God, no more baseball bats to the thighs, please. Please, just let it stop. Ignore your legs. They'll be fine. They are merely flesh and bones, nothing a long nap and a drink or two won't fix after the race. Your mind is stronger. When running on trails, you may pass a group of campers or backpackers kicked back for the show and eager to vicariously take part in the race excitement. Take comfort in the Z you see at the station to your left, the one in the beer costume screaming, "There's free beer at the end of the race!" You should normally ignore her friends' entreaties to participate in the festivities, regardless of how cold and refreshing the newly opened beers appear. If you are feeling adventurous and looking for some real encouragement, then down a can in front of the revelers enjoying an early morning party. You will surely receive their accolades and may even a proposition or two. 2 miles later, your stomach, however, will not be thanking you. Your head will. A few bounds down the road, and a minute later the revelers' cheers are out of earshot. You are back on your way, alone again in this bittersweet journey. Climb a tree. As you gallop along with leaden legs and sore feet, you realize that you have not seen another Z or orange flag for the last few minutes. It is time to climb a tree. Rather than backtrack and waste precious leg strength, use your arms to pull yourself up the highest point possible and take in the bird's eye view of the landscape. If anything, the change in muscular motion will be a refreshing mental break and will give you the time to calmly recall where you saw the last flag. Climb that sturdy-looking poplar tree to your right. At this point, you can see that there are other racers on the trail below. Think to yourself, the race organizers were smoking a bit too much wacky tobacco when they set the course flags up last night. Maybe they mistakenly thought that the race was a hash run and that the course was flexible and lined with flour. Silly race organizers, you think. This is a marathon. You actually have to put the flags on a set course, not willy-nilly in any direction. Arg. How many miles should I add for this erroneous excursion? Take another deep breath. No worries. You're a resourceful Z, and through your persistence, patience, and ability to triangulate with other Zs, you have found your way. You will find your way back in the right direction. Trounce through the woods, off trail again, and jump back on course with the racers you spied earlier from the treetop. Don't worry if you cannot figure out how you got off course. This is no longer a concern and will waste mental energy needed for racing. You are not out of danger yet. Your heart rate just recovered from the obstacle course of being lost on your woodland foray. A loud snort ensues to your right. You see antlers behind you and immediately feel your legs burn as you ramp up the speed to a 5-minute per mile pace. It is a deer rutting season, and you would much rather eat venison than become a target of one's sexual angst. A few quick strides later, and the deer is out of sight and out of earshot. Welcome to mile 20. Who cares? In a few miles, beer was promised. You now have a mission. Remind yourself that the journey has been tough, but that you are almost through. Calm your heart and stride on. The 7 deadly chicanes. You are approaching a wall of granite that would scare even the most seasoned of billy goats. A mountain looms before you like a cat waiting to pounce. Unfortunately, you cannot see the mountains until you are at its base and are thus unable to fully size it up. You can feel the mountain's presence from the density of the air, the changing geophysical characteristics, and the gradual incline of the last few hundred yards. You notice that the chirping of the birds has subsided and that the ambient air temperature is declining. A light mist surrounds you. You are leaving the valley again. You remember vaguely the 6,000 feet of climbing that you spied on the course contour map the night before. You think, I was sure that the elevation numbers were misprints or a joke intended to scare novice runners. The race organizers have surprised you yet again. No worries. Remind yourself of all the skills you possess as a Z. You will beat this rocky beast like all the mountains that you have defeated in the past. Your legs are burning with lactic acid. You have been running for 3 hours. This pace is slower than you planned due to the surprise of the mountain. Your fuel during the event has been gummy worms, D-Fizz soda, and vanilla wafer cookies. You have begun the ascent of the mountain and have gone through a proliferation of chicanes. The switchbacks have been like the winding of a river through a hillocky valley. Although your run has not been nearly as effortless as the winding of said meandering river, you are exhausted. Perk up. There is hope in sight. Tell yourself after 7 chicanes, I will walk. Think like a cyclist racing in Paris-Roubaix, the fabled hell of the north. The cycling classic leads up cobbled grades so steep that cars cannot safely traverse the route. Cyclists have discovered the secret. If your heart rate is higher riding than walking, then get off the bike and walk. This situation applies to marathon running races up steep mountains as well. If your heart rate is topped out near your threshold for speech and you have climbed 7 chicanes, walk.